Gotta post the links. Music playing. Music is indeed playing. Okay. Very good, very good. Okay. Rearrange that a little bit. Yes, yes, hello, hello. Let's get everything all ready. That's good, that's good. Where is our chat? View docs. Chat. Yes. Open up. Okay. Don't freeze on me now. 100%, 100%. Well, my chat is not working on OBS. That's less than ideal. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Hey there. Hi there. Not Hyde here. Back at another Zatsu-Sweeper. How about that? He's never going to do anything differently, is he? It's always going to be Zatsu-Sweeper. Yeah. It's been a while, hasn't it? What's it been, like, 3 weeks now? I'm pretty rusty at this. Like, I haven't been recording much either. Again, that nasty, sinus infection, children? Not sinus infection, children. I hope there aren't any children sinus infections in the audience tonight, because we're going to be talking about sinus infections. And I really don't want to insult any of the sinus infection children out there. You know what I mean? Probably not, because those don't exist. They can't hurt you. They're not real, right? That's what everyone keeps telling me. Things that aren't real can't hurt you. But that's not true. Like, have you ever felt an emotional pain from, I don't know, the death of a character? Say, Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. It doesn't have to be Jon Snow. Like, the more famous one might be Bambi's mother from the animated movie Bambi. Yeah, we're going right out of the gates here. Yeah, Bambi's mother. She was... Oh, a lot of people were very sad with that when it came out. And that was kind of the point, wasn't it? Yeah. The point was to make people sad. And But he went back... I can't see that over the heart. But he went back to life. Bambi's mother? Bambi's mother didn't go back to life? Was this a sequel that I didn't watch? There were a lot of Disney sequels that just went straight to VHS. Oh, wow. I don't know if anyone would even know what a VHS tape is anymore. Back when there were cassette tapes? Oh, no one's gonna get that either. A little after 8 tracks, there were these things called Betamax tapes. Okay, a VHS tape used magnetic strips. Oh, Jon Snow. Yeah, Jon Snow did go back to life. But his life was ruined. And he ruined it himself. You know what I mean? Like, he did that entirely to himself. There was no reason for him to waste his second life on that. What kind of allegory is that, right? Jon Snow is supposed to be a stand-in for Jesus, I'm pretty sure. He even had the beard and hair, you know? And he was born a commoner, or he was treated as a commoner even though he was born... we probably shouldn't get into religious allegory, should we? Even if I am Jekyll tonight, you know? No, that isn't really what I wanted to talk about. I was talking about direct to VHS Disney sequels, wasn't I? Yeah, pretty sure I was. So Aladdin had a lot of direct to VHS tape sequels, and those didn't go to theater. They would just come out on VHS tape every couple years, whenever Disney felt like it. They were a very cash-grabby kind of, media. I don't even think that the sequels for Aladdin, Disney's animated Aladdin, not the live-action one, that doesn't exist. I don't think they had the original voice actors. They definitely couldn't afford, Robin Williams. Oh, that makes me sad. I really liked Robin Williams, you know? Good Will Hunting. Flubber. Those were great movies as a kid when I was growing up. But the direct to VHS tapes, I should probably explain what a VHS tape is, shouldn't I? Yeah. Okay, so a VHS tape is basically a plastic box, and it had two spools on it, right? And on the spool was wound a magnetic strip. Yes, media was stored on a magnetic strip. That's why it gets fuzzy. Like, if you've ever seen a VHS effect on an edited video, or even found footage style videos, like Backrooms. If you've ever seen Kane Pixel's The Backrooms, there are often VHS effects, artifacting, and that happens when the magnetic strip starts to degrade, and the magnetism starts getting overwritten by ambient magnetism, because, yeah, the Earth is a giant magnet. Did you know that? We have a North and South Pole. And it's not just a geographic North and South Pole, we also have the magnetic North and South Pole, and those are actually migratory. They don't stay in one place for too long. Every year, I have a very expensive compass, right? And that used to be part of my job. I would need a very expensive compass. And I had to make sure to set the declination, and I think, yeah, declination. And that's pretty much however much it's, well, the deviation of the pole. Being in the northern hemisphere, I don't think that's much of a dox. I had to use the shift of the northern magnetic pole. Yeah? Yeah. Because, you know, again, the Earth is a big dipole magnet. That means it has two poles, north and south. Theoretically, you could have a monopole magnet, but, it's just theoretical. Because usually you have to have a different polarity on the other end of that. If we could ever get a monopole magnet, a lot of different things in science fiction would be a lot more plausible. But that's not really my field of study, so I couldn't tell you much more than that. Yeah. We were talking about VHS tapes and direct to VHS sequels, right? Yeah. So there was one for Aladdin called, I think it was Revenge of Jafar. And if you remember the first Aladdin Disney movie, Jafar gets tricked into wishing he was a genie, which means he gets trapped in a lamp and has to grant wishes for all of eternity, basically, until someone would free him. That was pretty much the plot point. His own hubris sentenced him to a horrible fate. In the second movie, he somehow escapes that. I can't remember how. It was a terrible movie. And, I think there were a couple more after that. I know there was an animated, Disney has the Disney Channel, if you have television, right? Or at least they used to. I'm not sure what they own now. Like, they might own ESPN, they might own a couple more, like Disney Plus. But Yeah, before all that, basically everything that was animated went to a direct-to VHS sequel. Yeah. So all of those Lilo and Stitch episodes that you've seen on Disney, yeah, I used to watch those as a kid. Those were fun. Those would have been direct-to VHS sequels. Now things get put on Disney Plus, I guess. I don't have Disney Plus. We were doing so good there. So well. We were doing so well. None of this is actually in my notes, by the way. Like, I don't know why I'm on this tangent about VHS tapes, children. Like, it's not very Jekyll, is it? This is more of a Hyde content kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. But that's fine. We were talking about Bambi's death, and of course we ended up talking about VHS tapes for, what, 7, 8 minutes? Yeah, that's just something that happens in my life. I actually do own about 5 or 6 VHS tapes, right? And they're all ones that I scrounged from a dumpster F. Wow, was it that late? I thought I set this to low latency. It's fine. It's low latency. I can't help it if people are late to it. That's not on me. Yeah. So, we're gonna get off the topic of VHS tapes, right? Because no one wants to talk about VHS tapes in the modern era, where everything is digital instead of analog or even DVDs. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about DVDs because those were interesting. When DVDs came out, everybody was super excited that they didn't have to store media on these really unreliable VHS tapes. Like, there was no magnetic degradation. The only degradation that would happen would be if you physically scratched the DVD. Okay, that's not true. Early DVD players had some laser issues. Like, if you don't know how a DVD player works, there's essentially a laser that reads the little grooves in the bottom of a... well, I guess it would be a DVD, right? Yeah. And that's the same technology for Blu-ray, it's just a slightly different laser. It uses a blue frequency of light, I believe would be the right word. Those are blue! And, yeah, everybody is really excited to get these more compact, less degradable media storage devices. So what happened was a lot of people threw out their VHS tapes, and Hyde really liked some VHS tapes as a kid, so he kept a couple that he found while scrounging around like a little rat, you know? I don't feel bad calling myself Hyde there because Jekyll did not do that. Jekyll would never do that. No, Jekyll has too much self-respect to be scrounging around for VHS tapes in a dumpster. Yeah. I don't care how cool the VHS tapes were. I'll give you a little taste, though. I have the collector's editions for Jurassic Park and The Lost World, and those are still in the plastic, like they were never opened. So even if I did, or even if I did scrounge around in a dumpster to get those, they're perfectly fine, right? Just a little bit of bleach and it's good to go. I don't think there's actually going to be a way to play them, even if I do open them, and destroy all monetary value they might have, whatever that would be to a collector. Maybe $2 or $3. I imagine it's probably $2 or $3, right? But yeah, I'm not going to open them. I'm not going to ruin that value. But they should be fine. Except they wouldn't be playable, because again, there's ambient magnetism. And the ambient magnetism of the Earth will degrade the magnetic strip storing whatever video is on that VHS tape. That's why there was a mad rush to transfer all of the master videos from VHS to DVD when it first came out. And that's why a lot of early DVDs have really poor quality, because they were pretty much transferred directly from a less than ideal storage medium. It was very interesting times, you know? Because it was so much freer to not have to have these huge, bulky VHS tapes. Like, I want you to imagine a brick. Now I want you to squash it until it's about, oh, I don't know, 2 centimeters tall by about 6 centimeters wide by about 8 centimeters long. And that's what the size of a VHS tape would be. And that's mostly just the storage medium for the tape itself. That came in a black plastic usually. Although some of the collector's editions, you could get weirdly colored plastics. And that was one of the big draws, right? I think that goes back to... this is even older technology, but there used to be this thing called a vinyl, and they're pretty big nowadays. A lot of retro people enjoy vinyls over... I am talking about a lot of old technology here, but vinyls were replaced by cassette tapes and 8-track tapes, I think. And there were also Betamax tapes and VHSs, of course. And then we got into digitally stored media, like DVDs and CDs. Nowadays we have MP3s and MP4s and all of that different digital storage. So it's a bit different, but yeah, that's just how it goes, you know? There's always going to be a rush to replace the old technology with as much, well... There's always going to be a rush to replace the old technology with... to replace the old media. No. To transfer the old media? Yeah, that's the word I want. Yes, F. To transfer the old media back onto a more stable storage medium. I don't think we're ever going to have the same kind of degradation and loss that we had on VHS tapes. So media nowadays is only going to look better and better and better. Well, at least it won't look worse and worse and worse like the early DVDs. And that's also true for early CDs. Like, a lot of people, audiophiles, people who like music and they're very particular about how their audio is played or how it sounds. Those kind of people really didn't like CDs. They didn't like cassette tapes either. The technology behind the vinyls that they like is that the vinyl is itself a physical analog storage medium. FLAC? AFLAC? FLAC? Explain. I don't know that. Yeah, so basically what happens is there's this vinyl disc, and there are grooves. Like, there are grooves cut into them, or molded into them, as it were. Like, the vinyl gets heated and it gets pressed into a vinyl-shaped disc. Now, when you're recording for a vinyl, you usually... FLAC is a lossless audio format, unlike MP3s. Yeah, okay, yeah. I've heard of that, probably. Jekyll is hip. He's with the times. He knows what he's talking about. He does not know what he's talking about. I didn't really own too many vinyls, but the technology is interesting, right? Because there are these little grooves. When you're making a master vinyl, what you do is you have this little kind of needle that scratches in the noise as you're recording it. So you get a lot of... It sounds more... It's warmer. Like, if you hear cymbals on a vinyl, you hear how it would sound more like it is in the real world, because you get that physical sound. So, yeah, you get a lot more of the highs, you get a lot more of the lows and the mids. You get the more complete picture. With digital, you do have issues, or at least the early digital had a lot of issues, with some of those compressions of those sounds. So yeah, a lossless audio format, unlike MP3s, is actually a good thing. And that did not exist when I was a kid. Well, that's not saying too much. A lot of things didn't exist when I was a kid. I'm 188, right? So yeah, a lot of things didn't exist when I was a kid. that's for. And, yeah, a lot of people didn't like the Switch. I don't really mind digital over analog audio. I don't really hear the difference too well. Like, I can hear it in the cymbals and the percussion and the drums, but mostly it's not very noticeable. And if it's not very noticeable to me, then I don't care. And really it's the same thing with modern video games, right? Like, a lot of people complain when someone's playing a video game and it's not 60 frames per second. Let me get a sip here. I don't have juice, by the way. I'm out of juice. That's sad. Just warm water today. I was considering coffee, but I didn't want to be up, so we're not doing coffee today. No. What was I talking about? You've been out of juicy juice for so long. Yeah, I know. I have this sinus infection and I haven't really felt like going out to get more juicy juice. Like, I have to go to a specific store to even get juice boxes, and I feel really weird buying juice boxes as a 188-year-old man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even have children, so it's just very weird for me. It's very weird for Jekyll children. Like, even this right now, talking into the void like he is, it's very weird. Like, no one wants an old man to be talking into their eardrums, into the void like this. That's not really, well, there is a market for it. I won't say no one wants it, but there aren't too many people who would actually enjoy it. Yeah, that's kinda sad, because I enjoy doing this. Let's talk about that, instead of whatever I was tangenting about. That's not even on my notes either. But let's get into, where I've been for the last 3 weeks, and where Hyde's been for the last 3 weeks too. There have been a lot of things happening in the physical world, as opposed to this digital one. And, yeah, I just haven't had time. Like, I wanted to do a stream last week. I couldn't do it. I had family obligations. There was family in town. You gonna let me get away with that excuse? It's not an excuse. It's real. I actually did have family in town, and I had to attend, if you're not American, you won't know this, but at the end of, November, there's this holiday called Thanksgiving. And essentially what it is we feast on as many foods as we can cram into our stomach in as short a period as time. I'm sure there's some kind of holiday explanation for it. I think it's just gorging ourselves. Yeah, that's the whole idea of the holiday, or at least how it's celebrated nowadays. There used to be something about camaraderie between the original colonists and the Native American tribes. Like, at the end of the harvest season, they got together, they shared and exchanged things, they helped one another out, and they were thankful and grateful for that. And that led to the holiday of Thanksgiving. 1, 2, 3. Yes, very good. 1, 2, 3. Not good. Not right. But, I don't think anyone actually cares about that anymore. Except for maybe, I don't know, complaining about things they probably don't need to complain about. It's looking like we're out of moves here. Jekyll is not seeing one today, children. Nope, we got one. We had one. Exactly one move. And now we don't have any. Bop, 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 bop. Bop, 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 bop. Yeah, okay. I figured as much. So I had to do that last week. And I know who will win Minesweeper. Jekyll? I don't have a character named Jekyll, but if I did, Jekyll or Hyde. Jekyll or Hyde? There's a song called, Jekyll and Hyde, I think, by Jim Burgett. I really like that song. It's, from the 60s, I want to say. And I liked that song before I even became Jekyll and Hyde. So, that's kind of funny. That's a coincidence I don't usually talk about. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say probably neither of us. That was extremely lucky. Like, I could have definitely hit a bomb there. Yeah, neither of us are probably going to win for exactly the reason you just saw. I am clicking like a madman. But that... Yeah. Exactly like that, right? Exactly like that. So, Jekyll or Hyde, Jekyll or Hyde, Jekyll or Hyde. I'll tell you another thing. That was just bad luck. We're gonna get one of these, okay? We're gonna open this up. Did you know that I've won that difficulty? Yeah. A lot of people have won this difficulty. And I've won this several times. My fastest speed, I think, was in the 60 or 90... somewhere between 60 and 90 second range. Yeah. It's not like I can't play Minesweeper. What I can't do is play Minesweeper and stream. It's another banger stream. Let's go. Time to explode. You don't really have much faith in me, do you, Senmath? Like, I get it. I haven't put a lot of reason to be faithful in me into, you know, my streamings of this game. Yeah, those words got away from me, didn't they? But yeah, I have won this game. I do play it a lot, or at least I used to. Like I said in an earlier Zatsu-Sweeper, this was my game. This was my go-to game, not Microsoft Pinball. Like, I used to play Microsoft Pinball before I understood what Minesweeper actually was. Wins 0. Yeah, it's true. It hurts, but it's true. Yeah, I figured. I don't know why I put that there. I'm very tired today. I was going to talk about sinus infections, but yeah. A lot of people don't realize this, but sinus infections can apparently parts 7. When you lay it out like that, Senmath, I guess it makes a lot of sense as to why you don't have much faith in me. I get it. I get it. It hurts. It really does. But I get it. Like, a lot of people don't realize, Senmath, it'll hurt even more if you count it by the number of games played. I don't even know how many number of games I've played. It's gotta be at least in the dozens by now. I gotta imagine it's been dozens. I think I jinxed the sweeper, sadly. No, I think I jinxed it. You got me tangenting now. No, please tell us about sinus infections, Jekyll. Yeah, sure. I'll talk to you about sinus infections. A lot of people don't realize that you can get subacute sinus infections that last over a month, or you can get even longer sinus infections, which last longer than a month. And that's where Jekyll is. That's where Hyde was, other than the family gatherings that he's kind of had to go to because family that isn't usually in town showed up. So yeah, I couldn't avoid those, even with my sinus infection. So I couldn't stream last week, and that felt bad. And now I still have a sinus infection, which has made recording very difficult, because I can record, it's just the audio doesn't sound quite as nice. My voice has a bit more nasal to it. It's very congested. It doesn't sound as good as I would like, and that really limits what I can record, right? Like, I have this BFE script that I've been meaning to record for, who knows now, probably over a month, and I just haven't been able to do it. It's really sad, because I really want to do it. Oh, that infection. I hate that. Yeah, I hate that too. Like, I've never had a sinus infection this long. Usually, it's over in 2 weeks. Never longer than 2 weeks. And I'm a smoker, right? So, upper respiratory illnesses, they're pretty common. I thought for sure I just had multiple upper respiratory illnesses close together. That was not the case. Very much a sinus infection that's been persisting longer than I have ever had one. And it's still there. It's not as bad as it used to be. So today's stream shouldn't be terrible for audio quality. It shouldn't be as terrible, right? But it isn't great either. I have this congestion in the right side of my nose, and I can't really breathe out of it. I don't know how people do this with chronic allergies or whatever. Like, it's very hard to speak clearly. I can't do it, you know? I really can't. I tried to record some BFE. It did not sound right. It didn't sound good at all. And I have this post-nasal drip, too. And that makes my throat dry and sore. If I speak too long, especially so. So, this is probably going to be a shorter stream. I don't know how long. But, yeah. Not ideal. I can't do long recording sessions either. You might have noticed that. Need to make BFE script about a sick BFE. Or a sick BF. Yeah, I have considered that. I don't think people would get that I am sick, though, because as much as I notice it, I don't think other people... This is wrong. This is wrong. 1, 2, 3... 1, 2, 3, 4? 1, 2, 3. It has to be these three. And this one has to be that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know if other people would notice that I'm sick. They might not understand that I'm doing sick boyfriend BFE. And I don't mean like sick kickflip sick. I mean like sick. I could do a sick boyfriend BFE where I was like, dude, bro, I did a kickflip on my skateboard. You know, Jekyll and Hyde, we don't skateboard, but I used to snowboard a bit. I never did it without the little foot straps on the snowboards. Like, there are some people who don't need those, they can just balance. And my balance is pretty okay, but it's not that great. I can't... Oh, I hope you didn't hear that, those snaps and pops. I know that picked up last time. You probably heard it, it's fine. I'm not muting my microphone just so I can crack my neck. That'd be ridiculous. But yeah, I lived in a place with a lot of snow as a kid. TSKR, yes. Yeah. And there used to be big hills that I would snowboard down. It was a lot of fun. Like, I imagine people who live on beaches probably surf eventually. And, people who live with a lot of snow eventually learn how to snowboard. It's not that hard either, especially if you get those little foot straps. Now, if you don't do it with the foot straps, there are advantages to that. You don't break your ankles nearly as much, but it's a lot harder to stay on the board when you have problems like going over a submerged in the snow branch or whatever's there. Big rocks were a big common one. Well, one of the advantages of having those foot straps, though, is you don't have to have little grippies with your feet. You can just jump and the board goes with you. That's really nice, right? A lot of people who... Yeah, that's fine, that's 3. A lot of people who do snowboarding professionally, they tend to have some kind of way to secure their foot to the board so that they can do those jumps. But not all of them do. Some of them can do it without any kind of, like, securing features. It's really strange, right? Like, I get it with a skateboard. There's a bit of friction. The board itself has a lot of friction on the top. So you can kind of kick it, and it will grip a little bit. I guess that's why they call it a kickflip, isn't it? But, no. With the snowboard, it's a lot more difficult, I think. Not that I ever learned how to skateboard. I really didn't. I attempted to. You're all gonna laugh at this. I never learned how to ride a bike either. Like, I can balance on a bike. I could probably learn how to ride a bike in, I don't know, a day or two. Because I used to ride a 2-wheel scooter, right? I like scooters a lot more than bikes. But no, I never learned how to ride a bike. So the expression, it's like riding a bike, never meant much to me. No. In fact, I wish people would say it's like cracking an egg. Because I think cracking an egg is a lot easier than riding a bike. And it's very hard to forget how to crack an egg. Like, what do you do? Do you flip it around so you're hitting the bottom of it, or the top? Don't do that. The top and bottom of the egg are some of the strongest structures of the egg, right? Especially the top, it's one of the thickest points. So do not crack from the pointed top of an egg. I don't know if that works so well with other fowl eggs, like poultry. Unga bunga smash egg. Yeah, unga bunga smash egg. You know what? With enough force, you can break an egg however you want to break an egg. It's just how much of a mess you're going to make. Yeah, I always wondered about, like, ostrich eggs, because they're so round, right? So it's really hard to tell what the top of an ostrich egg is, and what the bottom of an ostrich egg is. So I don't know how you would figure out at what point you would crack it, right? Where to... I guess you don't, because they're so thick. I've seen people saw off the top of them with, like, hacksaws and stuff. I guess that would be the way to go, right? You gotta saw open your ostrich egg. I don't know, though, because that's like a huge egg. What would you even do with an ostrich egg? Are you going to open a bakery and bake with ostrich eggs? That doesn't seem economical. I don't know how many eggs a year ostriches lay, but it can't be that many. Right? It can't be that many. You can't go to the store and get a dozen ostrich eggs every time you need them. No. I guess, in a way, the domesticated chicken is really the ideal egg delivery mechanism for humans. Like, I've heard of pigeon eggs and quail eggs being okay, but nothing's quite as productive as the chicken, is it? No. None of this is on my notes, by the way, like, this is all just tangenting. I don't even know how we got here from snowboarding. Oh, riding a bike. Right, I don't know how to ride a bike. And there's a reason why I don't know. Pain. There's a reason why I don't know how to ride a bike. So you know when you're starting how to ride a bike, or starting to learn how to ride a bike, you start with training wheels or on tricycles, right? And Hyde was no different. I'm not liking this start. Quail eggs are popular fried street food here. They're so tiny, though. Like, quail eggs are so very tiny. Yeah, I figured. I don't know how many quail eggs you'd have to eat to be full, but it had to be a lot, right? Like, you'd have to eat a dozen quail eggs just to have one normal egg meal. I imagine the yolks are probably richer, or that there's more yolk to egg white, because the modern chicken has a lot of egg white in its white. It's got an egg white in its white egg. Yeah, no, the modern chicken egg has a lot of egg white. Is it called albumin? I can't remember. Some kind of protein. They're in a stick coated in batter and deep fried. How do you put an egg on a stick without... Like, do you eat the shells? Are they have to be cooked beforehand, right? They have to be like hard-boiled or soft-boiled and then fried? Like, I can't imagine it any other way. You got me thinking like someone's jabbing skewers through the egg shells and just lining them up on a stick, battering that, and then deep frying it. That can't be right. Jekyll refuses to believe that you're eating the shells of these eggs. They have to be cooked beforehand, right? They have to be soft-boiled at least. Something at least enough to hold its shape on a stick, to batter it and then deep fry it. I was talking about... You're right, okay. I'm right about what? Which specifically? Is someone skewering these eggshells onto a skewer and then deep frying them? Because I know you can eat eggshells. They're mostly calcium carbonate and some phosphates, I think? I think that's what they are. Yeah, you can actually dissolve an egg in, or at least the shell of an egg, in vinegar. If you heat it up, it'll dissolve pretty quickly. Boiled first, good. Oh, thank you. You really had my mind spinning there. Yeah, you can actually dissolve an eggshell in vinegar. If you heat the vinegar, it goes a lot more quickly. But if you don't, it will still work. That's because the acid in the acetic acid in the vinegar is going to dissolve the calcium carbonate of the eggshell. Now, calcium carbonate is the same mineral that's found in most limestones. I say most limestones because there are other carbonates out there. there's something called dolostone, and that's a mineral with dolomite, which I believe is a mixture of calcium and magnesium carbonate. But there's also other carbonates yet. So there's another calcium carbonate called aragonite, and the only difference between aragonite and calcite is the crystalline structure, how the atoms are arranged in three-dimensional space to form a lattice structure. That's the difference between aragonite and limestone. And it just so happens that most aragonite and calcite, it just so happens that most limestones are made of mostly lime, which would be mostly calcite. That's what's more stable on the Earth's surface. Now, it didn't used to, or it didn't always used to be like that. There have been periods of time throughout Earth's history in which organisms preferentially, precipitated aragonite. We're talking in oceans here. We're not talking like chickens laying aragonitic eggs. They're laying calcitic eggs at best. Yeah. But yeah, some creatures that even today, they'll precipitate out aragonite for their shells. It's not as chemically efficient. So it usually happens in very isolated cases in the contemporary oceans. Like, I want to say very warm. I think it's warm that aragonite is more stable. And you can usually tell when an organism has an aragonitic shell as opposed to a calcitic shell, because it's a lot more jagged. Aragonite is kind of jagged looking, whereas calcite has a lot more of a square, smooth kind of surface to it. I want to say it's orthohedral, but it's been a long time since I've done mineralogy, so don't quote me on any of this, children. Do not quote Hyde on his mineralogy knowledge. I could not tell you anymore. That's fun too. There are a bunch of carbonates out there. One of my favorite carbonates is a mineral called siderite, and siderite is iron carbonate. So it's a lot of fun because it's very hard to dissolve it in any kind of acid unless you get really, really concentrated or really, really strong acid. You have to powder it if you really want to dissolve the carbonate off of the iron, I guess. And I have done that. It's pretty fun. But I really like it because it usually forms these gray concretions, right? And concretion is like a mud ball, and it gets rolled around, and it's a mud ball in the rock. It's a slightly different mineral than the surrounding rocks. And usually you get nodules and concretions. Nodules are less rolled, they're not really concentric. That's the difference between a nodule and a concretion. Concretions are like concrete, and you roll them like a snowball, whereas nodules are just kind of compacted mud. Where does one get very concentrated acid for experimenting purposes? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Hi, Lila. Oh, I haven't said, hi, Rura, hi, Senmath, hi, Lila. Yeah. You were streaming? Yeah, I'm streaming again. I wanted to stream last week, I just couldn't do it. Yeah, I had family obligations, things happen in real life. You know how it goes. What were we talking about? Oh, acid. Yay. I'm glad someone's happy about it. I really don't know if, I would be. But yeah, where can you get acid? The best place to get... Well, you can get weak acids pretty easily. The most common weak acids are probably citric acid in citrus fruits, and acetic acid in vinegar, right? And you can increase their chemical... what's the word I'm looking for? Their chemical... action? Chemical activity? Chemical reactivity might be the right word. By heating them up. You know how elements... thank you for the 100%. Or you know how atoms move faster when they're heated up? Same idea. That's all we're doing, we're using physics to our advantage. But if you want something stronger, most hardware stores sell something called muriatic acid. And that would be hydrochloric acid. Good old HCl. They'll usually sell it in containers at about 10%, so you'd have to concentrate it further if you wanted something stronger. No, that's not right. You'd have to concentrate it further if you wanted something less dilute. It's still going to be the same strength. That's the weird thing about acids, children. When we talk about the strength of an acid, we're talking about the base chemical activity of the acid. Not so much what the dilution or concentration is. Concentration tells you whether it's dilute or not dilute. Yeah. So, yeah. Here's a fun fact. I always remember how to mix up my acids, because this is what you have to do. If you want stronger acids, you have to order them in powdered form, you know? They're safer to handle in powdered form, and they store a lot better. So, you have to add acid to water. And the way I remember that is one of my teachers in somewhere at some point used to say, always do what you oughta. Add acid to water. Isn't that fun, children? I think that's fun. Because if you don't, if you add water to acid, you are going to... Well, basically what happens is it's an exothermic reaction, right? And exothermic reactions are ones which produce heat. Exo meaning releasing, thermic meaning heat. So an exothermic reaction releases heat. So if you add a little bit of water to a lot of acid, you can create a lot of heat pretty rapidly. And you might get burned from something splashing out. And you might also end up with acid all over yourself. And lots of things might get burned. Through acid, of course. Remember me again? What do you use your acids for? Should I want to know? Here's the thing. There are a lot of minerals which are reactive to acid. And you can use that for diagnosing or figuring out which mineral species you have in a rock. So yeah, there are some uses for that. Interesting, yes. Now, if you want really strong acids, you usually have to make them yourself. Now, the easiest way, I shouldn't tell you how to make strong acids. You can buy them online. Yeah, buy the powdered forms online, mix them up yourself. Sulfuric acid is actually really easy to make, and Hyde is not, or Jekyll in this case, Jekyll is not going to tell you how to make sulfuric acid, but if you want to know, there are plenty of YouTube videos on it, and it's pretty darn easy. And that's pretty strong acid. Yeah. Okay, that sounds safer than I thought. Yeah. There are some other fun acids out there, like carbonic acid. Carbonic acid's really easy to make too, although it's not a pure carbonic acid. All you have to do for carbonic acid is add carbon dioxide to water for the most part. So a lot of soft drinks that have carbonation in them, they're full of carbonic acid. That's why sodas are so acidic. If you get concentrated soda, yeah, it's gonna be pretty acidic. It's not just the lime juice for flavoring in colas. It is carbonic acid. And another way to make carbonic acid is to add acetic acid to sodium bicarbonate, which would be baking soda. And that would get you a very impure form of carbonic acid, and it's actually a very useful thing. I've heard of people using it to treat skin rashes, like bug bites. Apparently it takes the itch away. I don't know, I've never tried it, so don't take your medical advice from Jekyll. I'm not a doctor anymore. All of my doctory knowledge comes from the 1800s. Unless you have a system of 5 humors, Jekyll doesn't know anything about modern medicine. So please, consult a doctor. Like, not me, not Dr. Jekyll. Like an actual, modern, contemporary medical doctor. Please, please YouTube, do not sue. I am not giving medical advice. I will give you some advice on geology if you prefer. I could probably help you with that. Yeah, you are a butcher now? Am I a butcher? Oh, yeah. Technically, I would be a butcher, wouldn't I? That's what modern people would call me. You can't get away with trampling on 1 or 2 women without being called a butcher, right? Like, I never disassembled them. I never dissected or vivisected a woman. I just trampled on them. I just ruined their lives. That's all Jekyll ever did. I don't understand why he gets as much hate as he does. What's that face for, Lila? You didn't know this about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? You didn't read my biography? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't write that. It was slightly embellished, right? Yeah. People like to add their own twist to stories. And I don't really agree with it, but sometimes it does make things more interesting for readers, so I can understand it in that sense. I know, but hearing you say it, it hits different. What? You didn't think I would say it eventually? Like, I say it all the time. Uh, yeah, no, that's fine. You don't have to be aware of it. It's not gonna change anything, no. So this whole lineup here is going to be a problem for me. Eventually I could do the math and figure out how many bombs are over here. Yeah, I see the face. Like, you don't watch a lot of Jekyll videos, do you, Lila? That's probably a good thing. Yeah, right? Right. Yeah. Hyde's a very different person from Jekyll, you know? That's why we have the draft that we made. Now, a lot of people don't know that draft, this is the win. Probably not. Yeah, I prefer Hyde. You're like the only one who prefers Hyde. Like, I'm pretty sure 99% of my subscribers actually preferred Jekyll. The last Jekyll live was the first sweeper who missed him. Yeah, everybody missed me. Everybody's missed Jekyll. No one cares about Hyde out there. Hyde's gone. Hyde doesn't have to come back. Although he will be back shortly, there is a video, which may or may not be put up on my channel. I don't know. I didn't like that recording. There are a lot of recordings I don't like, so you'll probably see it as cut content, if ever. Yeah. I care about Hyde. Well, Hyde does a lot of the socializing, right? I'm here for the entertainment. That's what Jekyll does. Nobody likes watching Hyde. By the way, but who is gonna win the sweeper, Hyde or Jekyll? You know, Senmath, you're the second person to ask me that this stream, and I'm going to give you the exact same answer I gave the first time. My money is on neither of us. Neither of us are going to win. Because again, if you look at this lineup here on the left-hand side, now you can remember the left hand because if you put your hands out in front of you, the one that makes an L is left. Yes, your L, so you have to read your own hands. I didn't have to do that this time, but you can. At least we're gonna get a win this year. You're very optimistic, aren't you, Senmath? Let's give this a gamble. And that's why we're not gonna win. You're very optimistic, Senmath. No, I don't think I'm ever going to win. I'm going to continue doing Zatsu-Sweepers until the end of time, because I am very unoriginal with my content. To be honest, I think winning in Sweeper was always a fantasy. Well, you know, being a VTuber or a PNGtuber, it's a bit of a fantasy fulfillment, right? Yeah, there's an element of fantasy in being a VTuber or PNGtuber. You adopt a new persona, a new mask, as it were. And well, it's very fitting that I picked Jekyll and Hyde to be my new personas, because technically, there are at least 4 of us here. There's Jekyll, there's Hyde, there's Clown Hyde, and then there's the other one. The other one we never talk about, because he doesn't exist on the screen, and he'll never exist on the screen. He's never going to be there. Never. What are you saying? Of course, a trash isekai enjoyer would know about wish fulfillment. Yes. Indeed. Oh, that's sad. You know that really cute isekai story I was talking about, or Hyde was talking about, I guess, about being reincarnated as a fairy? Well, the fan translator of it is on hiatus, and I haven't been able to read a new chapter of that story in over a month and a half now. Yeah. Dun dun dun. The other one. Yes, the other one that we never talk about. The one who doesn't show his face. Because, yeah, That's kind of the whole point of being a VTuber. Oh, you want to know something? Time to do your reps. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to learn that much. I just switched to a different isekai. This one's about a, boy who, or yeah, I guess he would be a boy. He was a high school age kid. He was reincarnated into a game world as the main character of the game world. It's interesting. I think it's very much wish fulfillment. Yeah. I wanted to do a topic there for a second, but you got me way off of it, didn't you? Tan, the other one. The other one. Right, okay. So I got a comment on one of my shorts the other day, and it said, "Why don't you show your face? Just drop the PNGtuber avatar." And I thought to myself, you know, this comment is actually coming from a logical standpoint, right? I could probably do a lot better as a flesh streamer than as a PNGtuber. But I like my privacy too much, you know? I don't want, I really don't want to expose my face. Is that so weird? I don't know. I don't think people value their privacy as much as they really should these days. And that kind of makes me sad. Because when I was a kid, we were forced in school, when we were in computer labs, because yeah, I am young enough that we had computer labs in my schools, we were always told to value your private information. Never reveal anything online. Anything you read online could be false. It's not all true. Anyone could write anything online. And that's the truth, right? Fake old man spotted. I am 188. I am old enough, thank you very much. Should I reveal that? That's probably fine. I was one of the youngest generations at the school to, actually get to be able to do anything on a computer lab. We still had typewriters. We still had a collection of typewriters. That's how old Jekyll is. Now, to be fair, his school was probably a good decade behind, larger schools in less rural places. But we still had typewriters, and those were our typing courses, or they were right before I got there. Like, I still had to learn cursive, right? I think the cutoff between, old and young might be the ability to read and write fluently in cursive. In fact, I still prefer... Oh, voice crack. Let me get a sip of water there. Ah, really messing with my voice. Typewriters. Okay, that's old. No, he is not old. Not 40 years old, unsubscribed. Just kidding. I write in cursive. In my country, it is still the norm. Yeah, I'm not 40 years old. I'll give you that much. I'm not 40 years old. I'm 188. That is the canon. And if you want to know about the age of the other one, we do not talk about the other one. But he's not 40. I write in cursive. I hate cursive. Yeah, like a lot of people, where I went to school, they no longer teach cursive. And they haven't for years. They just teach typeface. Because that's what's on computers nowadays. No one writes in cursive on computers. And most things are written on computers, or technology. Like, at my old school, they now have iPads, which I think is ridiculous. We had to use, like, MacBooks. Oh, we had these big carts of MacBooks, and they would be locked in place. Now you can just take your iPad to your home with you, you get it signed out. It's really strange. 188, immortality confirmed. Yeah, I've never really talked about my lore. I should probably do that someday, but I didn't think anyone would be interested. I learned cursive, but why? I don't use it. Nobody uses it. I use cursive. Like, I still write in cursive when I write, and I still write a fair bit. It's not anything anyone can see, because my handwriting is terrible. I will tell you that much. My handwriting has been called worse than chicken scratch. And I don't know if you've ever seen chicken tracks in mud, but it's very illegible. Like, I wouldn't trust a chicken to write anything for me either. Like cursive, I love writing by hand. I do it every day, actually. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, again, I think there is a cutoff where if you do not know cursive, it's fine, because nobody uses cursive for anything but signing their own name nowadays. For the most part, there aren't too many people, or young people, I should say, there aren't too many children out there, who still write in cursive. Yeah, right? Right. Because they're not teaching it. They're really not. You still have to sign your name. I get why a lot of people don't like cursive. There are a lot of letters which are too similar if they're written illegibly. But there's some very beautiful handwritings out there. And that's really what it comes down. That's what it comes down to. If you don't have beautiful handwriting, you really probably shouldn't write in cursive, but I do find it faster. So when I was taking notes for courses, I always wrote in cursive. And here's the thing, like, professors always tell you, never write everything we say, just write the important parts. And Hyde never did that. Hyde would write everything verbatim. And he didn't even use shorthand. He would just write and write and write and write. Every second of every class. If someone was talking, he was writing. Are you calling me old? You're right. Well, you're not as old as me, so yeah. There's no way you're... Actually, I don't know what your lore is. You might be older than me. You could be like a 1,000-year-old fox for all I know. Yeah, I think we talked about that. I wish I was better in cursive, to be honest. I think it is so beautiful. Oh, you were like me. I did the same. I wrote everything. Yeah, like if you do a lot of writing, cursive makes sense. Because it's connected, it flows. It's a lot easier to write like that, right? But if you're doing everything by typeface, which would be just like the standard letters you find on a keyboard, there's nothing you can really do except for write in shorthands. And I hate reading notes in shorthands. I want to know exactly what was said, in what context, and why. I still have a lot of my old notebooks, by the way. I never got rid of them. So, I could eventually maybe show those off. I don't know. We'll think about that. I also study better by writing. It's great for memorizing for me. Same. Absolutely same. If you're preparing for a test, and you really need to cram, and, you really shouldn't do this, children. This is not how you learn things properly. But if you really need to study for a test, and you don't have much time, and you need to cram, write things down repeatedly. Do 3 repetitions, depending on how much content you have. Say you have a paragraph you really need to do, write it 3 times, give yourself a 5-minute break, and do it all over again. Repeat until you get it. Once you write it like that, it kind of goes into muscle memory, right? And you can kind of just fake it when you get to the test. It's great for studying, and I used to do that a lot for, well, you know, I used to study geology, so let's go with geology. I used to do that a lot for the chemical formulas of different minerals. I would just be at a table, sitting in a common room or something, and I was writing furiously. All of these different chemical equations, or I guess chemical formulas. They're not equations. There wasn't any balancing done. It was just CaCO3, 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 or CAMgCO3-2, or whatever it was. Yeah, okay, the CO2, or yeah, calcium carbonate, dolostone. I know what I said, I was right. Don't worry about it, no one cares about the chemical formulas for dolostone. Or dolomite. You are totally calling me out. I'm not saying... a lot of our exams are open book, so memorizing doesn't help. Well, you're very lucky there. Like, I would rather learn how to do something and have the references in front of me than just memorizing things. But that's not how our tests work here. Oh, no, no, no. Our education system is wonderful. They want you to get the right answer, and they don't care how you get it. You don't even have to understand the math. If you recognize a problem, from a previous, I don't know, say homework, because that happens a lot. That happened a lot in my math courses. They would take questions from homework and they would just put them on the test. If you recognize the same equation, then you could just answer whatever answer you remembered. Most of the time, they didn't care if you showed your work. There are some places that do. I did have some courses that wanted you to actually know how to do math instead of just knowing what the answer was. But not always. So it's a mixed bag there. But a lot of our tests are just rote memorization, and oh, it's awful. Right, okay. Those are the worst tests, to be honest. I agree with you. I don't think it shows you've learned anything. Like, I don't think you've learned anything at all if you're just writing down what you've memorized, right? That you just... It showed you have the ability to memorize something. Is that what you want to reward? I don't know, but that's what they are rewarding. And I could do that pretty well, even if I did cram. But here's the thing, if you cram like that all of that information that you memorized is gonna leave your head almost as quickly as it entered it. Yeah, at least 90% of it. It's very hard to remember anything you cram like that for any extended period of time. But I only could study like that. Oh, missed one. I don't know if we're lucky if sometimes you can't count with one hand who passes. Yeah, that sounds pretty rough. Like, that might be too far to the other side of things. Like, if you're in a very tough program, and I didn't pick a very tough program, I took very tough courses in my program, but they were elective. But if your program itself is tough, then yeah, that might be too far on the other side of things. I don't know. A handful of people passing, if it's a very small program, might be acceptable. But if it's a handful of people passing and it's a very large program, that's probably saying more about the program than it is about the people. And I don't know if I agree with that either. Now, the other thing that might be happening is there could be a curve. And if they decide to curve the grades and increase the number of people who passed based on the relative scores, then I could understand having a very tough exam. A lot of my exams had curves like that. And, yeah, I'm not gonna brag, so let's not talk more about that. But I only could study like that before college, because in college I had essays to write from a single random question. Yeah, I really liked those questions. I really liked essay questions on tests. Those really show what you know. If you learn something, you can write an essay on it. I really liked those tests, and I had a lot of those for... Let's not dox myself with that. But I had a lot of those in a lot of my courses, and they were fun. Because you could just write whatever you remembered, and you would sometimes get points for getting partial answers right. Or you would get bonus points for putting things in that no one else thought of. And that was interesting because they weren't really looking for a specific answer, or they did have an answer in mind. But as long as you could convince them that your answer made sense, like my professors would usually just give you credit for that, as long as I had a logical reason for my answers, which was nice. I had very good professors. Very fortunate. Well, pros and cons of two systems. Yeah, there are pros and cons of every system out there. I do think that there should be a balance, though. You shouldn't have a handful of people passing and the rest failing in a large program. That seems inefficient. That doesn't seem like good education or a good institution. Yeah. I had a great time in essay test. Yeah, I love when they give us freedom to think for ourselves. Yeah, I do prefer the essay tests to the less thoughtful true or false, or the multiple choice. I absolutely hate multiple choice. I don't like multiple choice. I'd rather have an essay test over multiple choice, unless it's a stupid... my true thoughts kind of slipped out there. Unless it's an elective that you need for, I don't know, a liberal arts degree. Yeah. If it's something like that, then give me the multiple choice. I don't care anyway, right? Yeah. I actually was very fortunate with my degree, because I got to pick courses that I actually, for the most part, enjoyed. So there weren't too many courses that I thought were stupid. Yeah. And a lot of people might not have that experience, because what's stupid to one person, it isn't stupid to another. A lot of people probably thought that their science courses in the liberal arts program I went to were probably stupid, because they wouldn't need them in their actual fields, right? You don't need science if you're getting a degree in business management. It helps to have some kind of scientific knowledge, and that might actually be one of the first talking points on my list of notes, if we get there. Yeah, I love when they give freedom. Yeah, okay. Multiple choice is hell. Absolutely. Always overthink things. Definitely true. Like, if they give you 2 plausible answers, and they say pick the best, I absolutely hate that. Like, what do you mean pick the best? They're both right. One's just more right. Don't give me those kind of questions. Because I always think about the exactly. There are always exceptions to most answers unless it's like a multiple choice math test. In which case, I don't know why you're giving multiple choices. What is this? Like the GRE? Yeah, okay, I get it in on GRE. But then you'll just have students gaming the system, right? They won't do the actual math. They'll just say, okay, well, here's a shortcut, and as long as I follow these shortcuts, I can eliminate these 2 answers, and this one seems more correct. And that's gaming the system. You essentially turn it into a 50-50. That's not ideal. You're not learning anything that way. You don't need to know. So we were going to talk about why science might be important to someone who isn't in the sciences. So I wrote a tweet, I don't know, probably a week or 2 ago? It was before Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, about how I was forced to cook, I was forced to cook down a tomato sauce, right? And I was handed a very tiny saucepan. Like, it was a 2-quart saucepan, and I was cooking about 2 quarts of sauce. So it was practically full. And if you think about that, you might not see a problem yet, but if you are scientifically literate, I think you'll identify the problem right away. You do not have any surface area for evaporation. Or rather, you have this huge convection cell where you're trying to boil off all the moisture that you can to reduce your sauce, right? To make it thicker. And to do that, you need surface area for heating. That would be the bottom of the pan. And you need an evaporation surface at the top of the pan. So the less you have to heat in a convection cell, which would be the boiling, the less you have to boil, or the less the boiling, how do I want to say this? The less the energy, the shorter distance the energy has to travel through the liquid medium, the easier it is to evaporate that liquid in the medium, right? Because again, you need convection to get through to heat all of the sauce. And a lot of people don't know this about boiling, but things don't always boil at the boiling point. There are associated factors, right? Like pressure systems. That's how pressure cookers work. You can boil things at a non-boiling pressure or a boiling point by increasing or decreasing the pressure, depending. Or you could do things like adding activation energy, right? Because in a phase change from, say, water to gas, you need some energy over the boiling point to actually get the things to convert into a gas over a water. Because there is some kind of latent stability, as it were. And if you don't know that, well, now you do. And that's what scientific literacy is all about. But back to the saucepan. I was given this tiny saucepan, which was bad on 2 accounts. The conductive surface was small, so we didn't have much surface area for heating. And the evaporation surface was small, because small relative to the volume. It's all relative to volume. So the ideal way to reduce something quickly would be have a much larger pan so that the liquid is much thinner at the same volume. That way you have a higher conductive surface on the bottom, so like more round. Think wider pans, yeah? And you also want... Yeah, just wider would mean the volume would be spread out more evenly, or over a wider surface area, which would increase the evaporative... Hold on, let me get a drink. It would increase the evaporative surface, so you would get more steam coming out. And you would also have a smaller amount of media to send that heat through for it to increase the temperature of the entire liquid. All of this is saying that if you have a wider pan, you will boil things for... or you will reduce sauces much more quickly. You also risk burning, though, because you have more heat going directly into the sauce, and you have more things on the bottom, which is the direct source of heat. So you have to be careful about that. And if you want to increase the evaporation even further, you can do things like decreasing the pressure. And you can do that with a... if you have a hood that has a fan, like one of those steam fans on above your stove, you can turn that on, and that will draw the hot steam out of the reactive area, the physical area which is already filled with steam. That'll allow more steam to actually go up. Yeah, because there is a process of sublimation, and there are also issues of concentration when we're talking about these things, right? And another thing you can do to increase the activation energy is to stir the sauce. Believe it or not, that will increase how much evaporation occurs, because stirring is a type of energy, right? It's a kinetic energy, and kinetic energy can be used to increase the total energy of the system. And when you increase the total energy of the system, you encourage the activation of the phase change. Yes? Yes. Ideal, right? So this is why even common people who do not need to be scientists might benefit from a little bit of scientific knowledge. Just the smattering of physical knowledge is enough to save you, I don't know, minutes, hours in a kitchen. I boiled that tomato sauce for 20 minutes. I could have been done in 5. And if you want to increase it even further, just put it into many different pans and pots until it's a microscopic layer. It's not practical. No one wants to do that many dishes, I get it. Kids, buy larger pans to become more efficient. Yes, if you want to reduce sauces, absolutely buy larger pans to reduce them. Do not use small pans. The problem is when you don't have space for it, though. That's true, but, I think most people can get along with just a wok. Like, the wok is the perfect pan, isn't it? It can do everything. You can deep fry in a wok. You can make sauces in a wok. You can fry in a wok. You can, if you want, make soups in a wok. I wouldn't recommend it. Like, I would recommend having a different wok for each of those different purposes. But yeah, just have a bunch of woks, you know? Yeah, they're perfect. They're ideal. And they have a lot of surface area, and they're typically wide. That's why if you have, especially flame heating under a wok, you can really heat up all of those surface areas on the curved bottom of the wok. That's ideal. Now, if you don't have an open flame, then maybe it's less ideal. Get yourself a flat-bottomed one. There are plenty of large pans, and they're very useful. Highly recommend. Do get one giant pan. Our apartments are super small. Well, how many pots and pans do you have? Like, you can get along with just one wok. I really think you can. Or at least the equivalent of one wok. Like a very large pan. I don't know. Maybe you wanna... or maybe you don't want to clean as much, so you use smaller pans and pots. I don't know. I think you can definitely reduce the space of total pots and pans by just having one wok. Is that just me? I probably should buy a wok, you're right. Hey, if there are any wok companies that want to add a sponsorship, I will be your spokesperson. Go ahead and ask. Jekyll is not opposed to making money off of woks. I will sell whatever wok you want me to sell. In fact, I could probably use a new wok. Mine is not ideal. It's starting to get sticky because it's a non-stick wok, right? So I probably have to resurface it, but you're not supposed to resurface them yourself. You're supposed to send those back to the manufacturer. Only we can resurface your woks. Garbage. There are ways to do it on your own time, you know? I think even if you don't know the latent heat of vaporization equation, assuming heat flux is constant, needing more area for more heat transfer can be common sense if you really think about it. I don't know. I agree with you. It should be common sense. But then again, I was boiling this sauce for, I said I was visiting family, right? So I'll tell you, I was boiling this sauce for my mother, who has no scientific knowledge at all. She is practically scientifically illiterate. So she does not know that more surface area means more heat, means more reduction of the sauce in a more efficient time. Which is why I spent 20 minutes reducing a tomato sauce. Yeah, because apparently I'm the only one who thought about that and I didn't get another pan. Well, to be fair, the other burners were in use. Again, Thanksgiving holidays, there's a lot of cooking going on. So yeah, if you don't know about American Thanksgiving, again, it's just a big feast. People eat everything they see, and they make a lot of food, so they see a lot of food. Maybe she doesn't care because she knows you're the only one suffering. Smiley face? Lol. Yeah. You know what's really weird? Like, I somehow get stuck with cooking whenever I go anywhere for a family visit. Like, it doesn't even necessarily mean that I'm cooking, standing over the stove while I'm visiting, but I usually am. Usually what happens is I get asked to bake things, like for... Oh, I can't say that. I get asked to bake cookies all the time. Cookies and cakes, breads, whatever. People tend to ask me to bake things, and that's not really a tradition in my family. It's, my family is a bit old school. Like, not my mother and not my father. But, the rest of my family are a bit old school. So, the Italian side especially. Usually it's the... don't cancel me over this, but it's the women folk who end up cooking and baking everything. And I got a lot of weird stares when I said, yeah, I can cook, I can bake. And it's really strange, right? Like, at first they were hesitant. Like, all the women folk were very hesitant to let me cook or bake or whatever. Because they're like, oh, you can't cook. You don't know how to cook. Why would you say you know how to cook? And then eventually they accepted me. And they let me cook with them. And that's nice, because I got to learn some family recipes that other people never got. But why the sad face? Like, the opposite could have been true too, you know? It doesn't have to be that only the women folk could cook. That's just my family. And it doesn't mean that, they had to be judgmental about my... or skeptical about my ability to cook, right? It's understandable about it still being like that. Jekyll's old, you know? Hyde's old. I keep telling you, I'm anachronistic. My family might be anachronistic. They come from older times. Like, the relatives I'm talking about are probably in their 70s, 80s, even their 90s, you know? So, it's understandable, right? These are people who saw a lot older times, you know, where it was expected. And they kind of had that as a tradition. Even their grandparents had that as a tradition back in the old country, you know? It's that kind of thing. But I'm glad you could help, and they were impressed in the end. I didn't say they were impressed. No. They found it acceptable. They found Hyde's cooking acceptable. You know, I'm not going to be able to compete with a 80-year-old Italian granny. I can't do it. I don't think any Italian man would. It's just not possible. They have the experience, they've been rolling gnocchi for, I don't know, 40, 50 years? No, probably 80 years. They start rolling gnocchi when they're, like, in the cribs. Those are their toys. You roll gnocchis. You can't win everything, huh? Nope. We'll be impressed if you give a taste, maybe. I don't know how I would even do that. Like, imagine the shipping costs if you even wanted to dox yourself and give me your address. I don't think it would be possible. No, sorry. You can't win everything. I can't win any game of Minesweeper, that's for sure, Sen. I can't... I win games all the time, yeah. Just not these ones. You can really tell when I'm struggling with Minesweeper, by the way, when I start waffling and I don't click on things. Like, I get much more tangented, and I don't know what to do. You can't win Minesweeper, unlike me. Where's the ban button for my chat? I gotta take care of something here. Hold on a second. Yeah, okay. Yeah, No, I'll be better. I'll be better than someone who bans someone, right? Yeah. Do you really believe he actually wins games outside of stream? I don't. I've put up a lot of videos of me winning games, okay? I don't need you to believe me. I have evidence on my channel. I talk about... Hold on, the heart's in the way there. I talk about win the approval from the council judge. Council judge. Yeah, I didn't actually ban you. Who would the council judge be in this case? The Council of Old Italian Grannies? I think they would be pretty tough critics. I don't think I'll be able to win them over. Right, I'm not boiling my own sauce from tomatoes I picked myself in a garden I grew myself, with pork chops that I... Oh, that's a secret family recipe. I can't tell you about the pork chop in my tomato sauces. No. That's a secret. That's a secret. Just between us. Yeah, I didn't actually ban you, so the cat in the box is fine. You can fake that, though. What can I fake? Oh, I can fake the videos? What, you think I'm stealing videos from other channels and just editing myself over them? Admittedly, it's something that Jekyll would do. It is something that I might actually do. I'd believe it. But you just admitted that you don't upload a lot of recordings, maybe because you kept losing. Okay, you got me. There are recordings of games that I can't beat, that I just do not upload. And right now, that number of games is 1. Losing streak. Yeah. I did a recording the other day for this game on itch.io called Gerald or Gerald Smith's Balloon Popping Simulator 2. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a horrendous game to be playing. Why would you make a video out of it? Well, it's supposed to be a horror game, right? It's a horror game masquerading as a balloon popping simulator. And the goal of the game is to pop balloons before they get off of the screen. And I couldn't beat it. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't click fast enough. There were always balloons that would get off the screen. And it's really tough because my laptop, yeah, I'm streaming from a laptop, is touchscreen. So I could touch the screen and I was still losing. But the horror aspect of it, there was a key that I just couldn't find. And I didn't know if it was at the end of the game, because I looked everywhere else. So I have like 30 minutes of my gameplay footage of that game, of me just not being able to click balloons fast enough. Well, at least your Zatsu skill is on par with Aurora and Lila Bunny skill. I don't know how to feel about that, Sen. I watched those streams. I was there for those streams. I don't know how to feel about that, Sen. I don't know. That hurts my soul. Are you saying my Zatsu's that bad? Horror and balloons. Yeah, okay. That's right, some people don't like balloons because of it, isn't it? The balloons are your kryptonite. They really are. Guys, that game is hard. Rora, help. For anyone watching this VOD who did not watch the videos, there was a stream between 2 of the viewers, well, there were 2 streams, of the video game Super Bunnymen, which is a cooperative game where you have to get to the end of a level. both of you while still alive, while avoiding traps. The controls are very difficult, right? I'll give them that. You have to be very precise with your orientation of your body, and you can only move by hopping or by rolling. And yes, it is very difficult. Don't get me wrong, but to compare my Zatsu skills to that kind of stream, I don't know. Like, they weren't doing very well because there were a lot of lag issues, especially. So when someone died on one screen, that would affect the other person's screen, but they could still be alive on their own, which was very strange. It was a very bizarre collaboration. Who is harder, Big Brain Zatsu or Easy Bunny Hop? Bunny Hopping's pretty hard, man. I've never actually played any Half-Life games, but I have played some modded kind of Half-Life. Yeah. So, yeah, bunny hopping's pretty hard. The controls are awful for Super Bunny Man, yeah. They really are. You did very well for what you were given with the lag situation, lol. My soul just died. I'm sorry, look. I really am sorry, but it wasn't clean, the gameplay. Like, you did remarkably well for how it was lagging at over 2 seconds. Yeah, the ping, right? It was just the ping. 99 bombs versus 99 friendly fire kicks. Yeah. Again, they were kicking each other off the screen. It was launching them into space. It was a fun time. If you want to check out something that would be more interesting than my Zatsu, check out Roratoris's or Lila VTuber. They were on Twitch, so check out their Twitch channels. Yeah. I can't really do a shout out, but yeah, check them out. Like, I don't know who would be watching this that doesn't know those two channels. Like, come on, be serious. None of my subscribers are going to watch an hour and a half of me waffling while not playing Minesweeper. They're all interested in, like, less than a minute long content. So, the only ones here are going to be you guys, probably. We did a traditional shout out. You? Like in the old times? Yeah, like the old times. Let me just put it on the old-timey radio. I'll write down an advertisement. Yeah, something like that. I really should click on something, right? Like, I haven't clicked on anything in probably 20-30 minutes, right? Yeah. That was a good collab. So I'm gonna get rid of this sauce thing on my notes real quick, and I'm gonna take a drink. I wasn't really expecting to be streaming for this long, but we've only actually gone through one of my topics for my notes, right? So, I don't know, maybe we'll go a bit longer. How do you feel about that, going a bit longer? Let's be honest, Minesweeper is there just so you have something on the screen. Shh, don't give away my secrets. Don't give my way. No. If I don't have a game on screen, then no one's gonna watch the short. Not that anyone watches the shorts for the Minesweeper with VODs either. Like, I gave up on those. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I haven't made a short out of the Minesweeper Zatsudan streams in probably over a month. Yeah. Going a bit longer, please. Okay, yeah, we'll go a bit longer. So one of the topics I actually did want to talk about today was... Hold on a second. My neck is killing me today. One of the topics I actually wanted to talk about, yay longer, was napkins. Like, you remember the last stream 3 weeks ago when I talked about hand drying towels in bathrooms? I want to talk about napkins. I think the existence of napkins really shows how gross the human animal is, doesn't it? I know what you're thinking. Where's he going with this? Think about it. We have these pieces of cloth, or in modern times paper, because a lot of napkins are disposable these days. We have these pieces of cloth or paper specifically for the purpose of wiping our mouth orifice after we're eating. our mouths are so gross that we have to clean them between bites. How disgusting is that? Like, imagine an animal in nature had to do that. That they're just like, there's a lion eating a gazelle, and it's got blood all over its face, and it pulls out a napkin. No, they don't do that. They lick their lips. Lips. But humans, no, we have to be disgusting. We have to have these cloths for our mouth orifices, right? Because we can't get the food in our mouth, even with proper silverware. There's always going to be something left on our lips. Eating is a disgusting thing, isn't it? Like, I hate eating. I hate eating in front of people, and I hate watching people eat. I do not like it. I do not like it, Sam I Am. No. Blood is tasty, though? Oh, people are gonna hate this take. When I order a steak, which is very rare, because I don't... Haha, pun not intended. It's very rare that I order a steak, but when I do, I always get it well done, so that the blood... It's not really blood, it's, hemoglobin, I think? But I really don't like it. I don't like those meat juices. I'd rather have a charcoaled piece of steak that's very crispy on the outside, right? The crunch of a crispy steak. That's the only way I'll eat it. That's just a piece of steak. If I'm getting something like a steak fajita, then yeah, thin cuts of steak. Well, I could understand well. Well's okay. But under medium, I don't know, you're getting into iffy territory. Yeah, me too. I don't like meat much, and I also prefer everything well done. I did not say everything. I said specifically steak. Medium rare bros, where you at? Here's the weird thing though, right? Like, I like my steaks well done, but when I get a hamburger, I like it practically raw. Like, I like my hamburgers cooked on the outside, and if they can get them crispy on the outside, that's perfect. But they need to be very, very red, or very pink at least, on the inside, or else I think that's overcooked. I don't like an overcooked burger. But an overcooked steak? Fantastic. Roratoris eating the bubble burn. I don't know what that means. Bubble burn. Yeah, no, I need stuff very well cooked. If I see pink red, I don't eat. It's... I can understand it with something like pork, because pork has, what is it, trichinella? Trichinella parasites, the worms. So you can get... Or is that... Yeah, that's pork. And I can understand it with rabbit, too, because rabbit has listeria, I think it is. There are parasites in a lot of foods, but when you get to the parasites in cows, I think most parasites that are transferable to humans, I think most of them get ground up so fine in ground meat that it doesn't matter. Yeah, so hamburgers are fine. You're really more concerned about foodborne illnesses in a hamburger than you are about parasites. And I'm willing to take that gamble for a good burger. Yeah, I'll take the gamble on foodborne illness. What's a day or two, right? You just have to work from the bathroom, right? We've all been there, we've all done that. Except for me, I've never done that. Because, as we all know, VTubers and PNGtubers are idols, all of us, and we don't use the bathroom. You people don't have blood soup in your culture. No, we don't. I think you, I'm pretty sure there's a certain amount of blood that you can swallow before you get sick. And I want to say it's about a quart, or it might be 2 cups. I don't know. Those are imperial systems of measurement, so you won't understand. But, yeah. There's only so much blood you can drink before you end up getting sick. So no, we do not have blood soup. But for me, it's about the texture and flavor. Oh yeah, texture is much better on a well-done piece of meat. It's a lot chewier, so if you don't have teeth, I could understand wanting to get something rarer. But if you do have teeth, and you can chew, I prefer chewing on a piece of meat if I need to chew on a piece of meat. WTF is blood soup. Agreed, what is blood soup? The answer. Pig blood with some vinegar and spices. Oh, so it's kind of like a blood sausage without the oatmeal, or the grains, or whatever they use. I could see that being okay. But again, there's only so much blood you can actually drink, you know? Why? Why, Aurora? Why? The name of the dish translates to bloodied. Yeah, I imagine it would be very bloodied. Could you imagine using a napkin for that? Your napkin would just continuously be coming back red. Like, blood is one of those things that just stains everything. You better hope you have disposable napkins for blood soup, right? Because if you're using a cloth napkin... Okay, here's some advice. Here's some cleaning advice from Jekyll. A man telling you how to clean things. Yeah, that... the Italian grannies definitely didn't like that either. But, yeah, here's some advice for blood. Do not use hot water when you're cleaning blood out of cloth. Immediately use cold water. The cold water will prevent the blood from setting quickly, and you'll get away with a much smaller stain, if any stain at all. Of course, iron is very staining, and blood contains hemoglobin, which contains iron for the most part. If it doesn't, you've got some kind of problem like cyanide or cyanide poisoning, right? Yeah, so use cold water on blood stains, folks. That's my cleaning advice to you. Can you give me some blood soup? I can give you some gunpowder alcohol if you want. What is gunpowder alcohol, Senmath? Is that exactly what it sounds like? Gunpowder and alcohol? Like, I've heard of people cutting drugs with... I shouldn't be talking about that. Nope, we're not talking about that. Tell me about gunpowder alcohol. Talking about blood and napkins. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about, like, feminine hygiene products. I was thinking about actual napkins. But thanks for bringing that thought into my head, Rura. Dealing with blood is hell. Yeah, I imagine hell is probably full of a lot of blood. And cleaning that up is hell, I can assure you. I've heard of club soda being effective, but I've never used it. I think any cold liquid will really help. But when you're talking about club soda, it's probably the carbonic acid that's really helping to get rid of the proteins of the blood, as well as the carbonation, maybe lifting it out. Yeah, so maybe club soda would be better. Disgusted face. Abhorrent face. Thank you for teaching us that. I didn't know that. Yeah, not a lot of people know that. Like, I learned that from... well, dealing with feminine hygiene. Not that I have to deal with that, but I had to deal with it at some point. Yeah. So, yeah, use cold water. Never use hot water. Oh, here's a fun fact for you, too. You can use cold water on things like bread. Like, when you're making a bread dough, and you get bread on your hands, like the uncooked dough, the starches will set under hot water. So, always use cold water to wash your hands of dough. It'll come off a lot easier than using hot water. As long as you don't mind having cold hands, right? Hyde does not like having cold hands, so sometimes he doesn't do that, but you really should. And again, this is just further proof that you really... Hold on a second, let me take a sip. This is further proof that you really need to know your science, even if you're not a scientist, right? I don't like being cold in general. I'm suffering so much right now. Oh, no, I agree with you there. Hyde is, currently in several layers. Like, you can see I'm wearing a suit, right? But if I weren't wearing... or Jekyll. Jekyll's in several layers, right, children? Yeah, I forgot I was Jekyll there for a second. Jekyll's in several layers of clothing. He's always wearing thermals, he's always wearing pants, he's always... yeah, you'd hope he's always wearing pants, right? What kind of streamer isn't wearing pants? Summer soon here. Lucky Senmath. We brought the Hyde back. You almost had him. You almost had Hyde back. But no, Jekyll's here today. And Jekyll is wearing... well, if he weren't wearing a suit, he would be wearing sweatshirts and stuff. Like, multiple. Because he hates being cold, too. And, yeah, I'm not going to talk about why I'm always cold, but, I am, and I don't like it. Yeah. So, we're going to take a gamble here, and if we lose, I think we're going to call the stream. Because I'm running out of energy, right? And I've only really talked about two things. Napkins, which I'm taking off the list right now. Save. And we talked about what? What's your max number of sweatshirts you can stack? I don't like being hot, right? I like being warm. I like being comfortable. So the max number of sweatshirts that I ever wear is 2. If I wear more than 2 sweatshirts, I start to sweat. And when I sweat, I feel colder, because that coldness, or the evaporation of the sweat, or the sweat against my skin, water has a high specific heat capacity, so you'll feel colder, and it also has an evaporative potential, which means it will transfer heat. Yeah, for phase changes. I talked about sinus infections. Should I talk more about the sinus infection? Always cold. Yeah, I am always cold. I hate it. Oh no, Jekyll is an undead. Yeah, Jekyll has no body heat. Oh, right. Instead of talking about my sinus infection, how about I tell you a little bit about the lore that I've never really talked about? So, we all know, well, I hope you all know, that Hyde and Jekyll are characters from The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a Victorian piece of literature. It's one of my favorite Victorian books, but there were others written too, right? Another is Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, or The Portrait, something like that. And I always wanted to incorporate that into my lore. Like, I wanted that story to be based on real events, and they would be based on Jekyll's real events. Not that he, like, I would always say that Oscar Wilde embellished with his own agenda, because Hyde doesn't play both sides of the field like that. He does like lace and doilies, but he does not enjoy playing both sides of the field. Sorry. Like, you can have whatever fantasies about Hyde and Jekyll you want, but that's just the truth of it. But yeah, I wanted that immortality aspect, that eternal youth, despite how gross the picture got. I wanted that to be part of my lore, yeah? Let's see here. Jekyll could be a reptile, too. Jekyll could very well be a reptile. Like, if you look at my model, he looks very reptilian, doesn't he? Like, he's not a face you would trust. I wouldn't trust this guy, actually. I love The Portrait of Dorian Gray. Portrait. It is a portrait. It's an interesting book. I don't know if we needed 20 pages on his fascination with textiles, but that was definitely true to the time, right? That's a period piece. I actually hate it, but love it at the same time. It's an interesting story. It also deals with, it deals with the same themes that Dr. Jekyll and Hyde did. Because if you look at Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I vibe. Oh, hi girlfriend ASMR audios. I've actually watched more of yours. They're very good. They were very good for the Halloween stuff too. I don't know if I left any other comments, but I really like those. Back to the story. Picture of Portrait of Dorian Gray. I had to read that in high school, right? And when I was reading that in high school, I really hated the chapters on all of the hobbies. But that turns out to be something that actually happened with English gentlemen in Victorian England. They had these fanciful hobbies because they had to divert their baser instincts, right? So that theme, the baser instincts, comes up in both. Dorian Gray himself stops repressing his baser instincts when he stops becoming physically ugly for doing things like, things that would mar or harm your body. Yeah, things that would mark them, like, I really don't want to say what, but you can guess. And things which were debased, as they would say. Yeah. And the same is true for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? In Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Jekyll, well, he was already a dirty old man, unless we're talking about the silent film. The silent film changed that, right? In the silent film, they made him much younger. Oh, we lost. They made him much younger, and they made him more relatable. He hadn't done anything debased yet. He was a very respectable, almost paragon of the Victorian standard. Yeah. which is really weird because in the book itself, the original, yeah, we lost, which means we're gonna be ending soon. But in the original book, yeah, he was very much a dirty old man who had already debased himself, and everybody knew it. That's one of the weird ironies and contradictions of the Victorian era. Everybody had two faces, and that's kind of the idea behind the book. Like, they were all hiding how debased they were behind the closed curtains, while in public and polite societies, they were talking about doilies and lacework and all these different textiles, cakes, cookies, teas, anything that was not debased. Interesting. Thank you. So, that two-faced element is actually in both stories, which is why I wanted to incorporate it into my lore. And I think that would be a great way to describe why exactly Hyde and Jekyll are still alive after 188 years. Because we are going with the book here. In the movie, I think he was a 20-year-old man, which is not very good for a doctor. Like, I would not trust a doctor who is 20 years old unless they were very advanced for a child, and they went through college at a very rapid pace. There are some prodigies out there. I might consider it, but I still think they wouldn't have much practical experience, and I think a doctor with practical experience will always beat a doctor with theoretical experience, right? Yeah, understandable. I certainly hope so. As you can see, we lost, so I think it's about time that we call it. This was a fun stream. It was good to be back after 3 weeks, and I do apologize that I was gone for so long, but these are things that you just have to get used to, right? Life comes up. You can't really always be in control of that. So, I just want to say, I appreciate y'all coming back here. You could have forgotten about me, but you didn't. And, yeah, I really appreciate it. All of you being here means a lot to me. It was nice seeing y'all again. Please do stop by again. I'm going to try and do my weekly streams, although December is going to be tough. We'll see. We'll see. Same time next week, hopefully. Thank you so much for the stream. Good to have you back. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all next time. And let me get the going out screen. Never go away again. I was never gone. I was always right here. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, as strange as it is, Hyde out. Bye-bye, everyone. Another loss, sadly. Yes, it was. We'll get him next time, soldier.